So here's some anatomy, and I did this just to make sure we're all on the same vocabulary. That bone is called the scapula, okay, also called the shoulder blade. That is the withers. The withers is the highest point where the shoulders come into and meet with the neck, and the neck and the back come together. It's the highest point. I want you to notice something. Does the bone come all the way up there? No, that's skin and bone and muscle that's covering the scapula. So that's why when you're checking for shoulders, you have to get in here and find the shoulder blade. It's also why when you're measuring a dog with a wicket, you have to make sure that you're finding that highest point. Because this dog, especially in a breed that has disqualifications, if I measure this dog here at the withers, or here, I can have 3/4 or an inch difference in a big dog. So it's important when you're measuring. I know in agility you want as short as possible. And so, I mean, I've seen people measure for agility and they're measuring down the back. They're not measuring at the withers because that dog's taller. So make sure that you know where the withers are. It's the highest point. Okay, scapula. That is the humerus or the upper arm. The bone is called the humerus. In dogs we call it upper arm. The elbow is right there, and we use the elbow in dogs to mean the back. Okay, the elbow joint goes all the way through to the front too, but when we're saying elbow, it's the elbow. Okay, it's in the That's the forearm or the radius and ulna. In the back, we have, oh, that was rear pastern, but it's not on the slide. So. That's the croup. Now, here's something that is often misunderstood. The croup is a part of the spine. The croup is not the pelvis itself. And notice the difference between the slope of the croup and the slope of the pelvis. Okay, when we say a slightly sloping croup, we mean the spine, and you can see it on this picture, how you've got the spine coming along and then there's a little slope in the croup before the tail. That's what the croup is. The croup is not the pelvic bone itself. Okay, that's something else. That is the pelvis or the sacrum. Then we have the femur. We have the knee or stifle. That's what that joint is. The lower leg or the fibula and tibia. And then we have the hock joint, which is different than the rear pastern. You can't really see that, but I'm going to show you because Paige Elliott said something in a seminar once and I will never forget it. We often call this here the hock. This area between the hock joint and the pastern, or the foot, we call this the hock. That dog has a lot of hair on its hocks. No, that is the hock. It's a joint. This is the rear pastern. Paige Elliott, Rachel Paige Elliott, who wrote a book called Dog Steps, was at a Golden Retriever seminar in Washington once with us. And somebody was talking about the hocks, meaning this, the rear pastern. And she very politely said, I would like to make a correction. And she said, the hock is a joint. What you are referring to is the rear pastern. Well, when Paige Elliott said something, you don't forget it. And so I was doing the same thing. So when we're talking about hock, it is a joint. Okay? The knee or the stifle is a joint. The standard says well-bent stifle. It is talking about this joint. That you want an actual bend in here, you don't want it to be straight. Okay, so there's our terms.